Subscriber alert, subscriber alert! Your friendly neighborhood YouTubers rated A for awesome. Like, comment, share, and subscribe. Thank you, and you're welcome. Enjoy!
Hey, what's up everyone? It's your friendly neighborhood YouTuber guys. And today we're going to be taking a look at my Spawn collection. Modern Spawn collection. All the new figs McFarlane has released thus far. So it is the end of 2023. We are going into the year 2024. And I have to admit, McFarlane has released a lot of Spawn figures. And of course, I've customized most of them. And also I made customs of my own. So we're going to be taking a quick look at all of these Spawn figures. I would probably say there's probably about 40 of them. As you guys can see right here. More than what I expected. And I'm going to try to make this under 10 minutes. If I can't do it, then I'll do a part 2. But we're going to take a quick look at all the Spawn figure releases. I have most of them with the exception of 1 or 2. And then also we're going to talk about customs as well. So if you're a Spawn fan, sit back, relax, and let's start this video. Okay guys, we are going to start with the one that started it all. From Mortal Kombat came out, what was it, a couple years ago, several years ago, the one that started it all. Of course he doesn't have his axe. Here's the original one with the sword right there. I actually detailed him before he decided to come out with the Shadow of Spawn. Alright guys, let's start with the figure that started it all. Right here. This, came out, several years ago? I believe it was 2018, I could be wrong. Of course, I detailed him before the Shadow of the Spawn figure. Threw some green blood onto him, and there was my little custom. Of course, he came out with variants. McFarlane came out with variants. Sword, and then the axe, and then the mace version. I end up customizing different variants of him. Here is one of my customs right there. If you guys want to take a closer look at some of my customs, they're all in my custom reviews, McFarlane reviews, if you guys want to check them out. Of course, he came out with so many variants. We'll take a closer look at some of those variants. And then he ends up coming out with something like this, which is just as equally as good, the bloody version of Spawn. I end up giving him a She-Spawn weapon. It's a little, this is one thing I kind of dislike about McFarlane toys, is the weapons seem to sag. They're very, very bendable, rubbery. That's one thing that I dislike about McFarlane toys. And then we'll jump to one of my other favorites, Raven Spawn, which was kind of lackluster when he first came out. Of course, I detailed him, threw some silver on him, made him look like the Raven Spawn of the old days, and he came out way better than I expected. And of course, I made a different Raven Hell Spawn right there, custom right there. Like I said, if you guys want to see any reviews of these figures, they are in my custom reviews. Go ahead and check it out. And then we jump to the classic Mandarin Spawns, very lackluster compared to some of the older stuff, but nonetheless, they're actually very good. The blue is very, very nice. He came out with a larger Mandarin Spawn, the deluxe Mandarin Spawn, which I never picked up. I never had the aspiration to pay $40 for, a giant size Mandarin Spawn. He also came out with a deluxe Commando Spawn, which I didn't really care to pick up. Because he later came out with another Commando Spawn, which we'll take a look at right now. So before McFarlane Toys came out with a Commando Spawn, I ended up customizing a Commando Spawn and making my own Commando Spawn on throne right there. Just recently put him together, but we'll take a look at the what I did with the other Spawn on Throne figure right now. So I end up switching out some parts, switching out some heads, gave him a different head sculpt, glued on a cape for the Spawn on Throne, gave him some effects from some previous Spawn figures, and then I end up taking off his head, putting a new head sculpt on him, giving him a Commando Spawn figure, hamburger head Spawn figure, which McFarlane has yet to give us. I got a feeling he's going to eventually give it to us. That's usually how it happens. Speaking of old school figures, with McFarlane Toys giving us and not giving us, he never gave us a classic Redeemer, so I end up making a custom classic Redeemer just to fulfill my collecting needs. I'm a huge fan of Redeemer, and I wanted to do a custom. Like I said, if you guys want to see how I made this guy, he's in my custom reviews. Go ahead and check him out. Now, with that being said, he did give us a Redeemer, but it wasn't that great. It wasn't that bad, except the blue was a little bit too vibrant. Wasn't that vibrant. The gold wasn't that goldish, so I ended up giving him a wash, and he came out a little bit better. But he did make up for it with the dark Redeemer. Now, in my opinion, the Dark Redeemer is probably one of the best Spawn figures that McFarlane has put out. The black, the silver, the wings, everything about this figure is done so nicely. One of my favorite releases from McFarlane, I probably would say closest, probably the best McFarlane release so far is the Dark Redeemer. I love this body so much that I end up doing a lot of customs with this figure. With the body parts, I end up making a Wings of Redeemer Spawn right there, which is definitely one of my favorites, definitely rivals this one right here. I wish McFarlane would take notes and hire me. And hey, right here, I just made you a new character, McFarlane. And then I like the body so much, and I like the sculpt so much for the Dark Redeemer. I end up doing a Wings of Redemption Malefic Spawn figure right there, which turned out just as good right there, because I just freaking love this figure. Speaking of Malefic Spawn, here is the Malefic Spawn which he gave us before Medieval Spawn. I just end up giving him a sword, and then just adding some paint details here and there. And this right here is definitely one of my favorite McFarlane releases, next to the Dark Redeemer. Speaking of Medieval Spawn, he did eventually give us a Medieval Spawn, which I did customize. Gave him a shield, added a few paint apps here and there. And it's not the Medieval Spawn that we were looking for, but you know what? It will definitely work. I like it. Speaking of Medieval Spawn, I do like the Dark Ages from back in the day, so I end up making a custom Black Knight Spawn with some body parts here and there that you may be familiar with right there. And if he looks familiar and you want to know how I made him, go ahead and check out my custom reviews. But there's my Black Knight custom Spawn right there. Hey, what's up, guys? Thanks for watching part 2. Stay tuned for part 3. This went on a little bit more longer than I expected, so stay tuned for part 3. Thanks for watching.